Welcome back to another news video. So the Nintendo Direct was like an hour long and there was a lot of information. So I'm going to give you the abbreviated version. We'll focus on the hardware, a few of the big hitters in regards to the games that were announced. There's a lot to discuss. I've even got some opinions on the pricing, especially the pricing for games. Stay tuned because after that we'll have the bonus round with smaller news segments. All news articles sourced for this video will be linked down in the description below. Like, sub, do all the YouTube stuff. Let's get into it. So the show started with Mario Kart World, which is the next iteration of the Mario Kart series. It looks amazing, not gonna lie. The graphics, of course, are improved. The karts have more detail to them. There's more polygons from what I can see. Textures and materials looked higher resolution. Environmental effects were beautiful. They showed a bunch of new tracks. There's even some new racing characters that you could select. And new abilities, let alone like your movement. In regards to movement, you can power slide, right? And then when you take off of jumps, depending on the direction you hit and time your jump, you can do a flip and get a speed boost. Well, they've added more new jump animations. You can even do wall jumps. There was a segment where there was a player jumping between two like fenced walls. That looked really cool. And there's even new power-ups. I'm going to take a wild guess here. They maybe removed the Thunderbolt and replaced it with a growing power-up. So instead of hurting all the racers and their experience, because let's be honest, the Thunderbolt sucks. Unless if you're the one activating the Thunderbolt. Anyhow, this new power-up they showed off, your character grows and you can run over your opponents. I think that's a nice trade-off. I hope that's the direction they take with that power-up. There's also a hammer, a projectile. Think about the boomerang in Mario Kart 8, but instead now you've got the hammers from the, you know, if you go back to playing Mario Brothers, there were the Hammer Bro turtles that were very annoying to deal with. You can toss hammers at opponents ahead of you. There's a coin box. One of the biggest features as well for Mario Kart World is the emphasis of world. The tracks are not limited to just racing on the racetrack itself. You can actually drive off of the track and explore the world around you. So obviously in Grand Prix modes, you're probably going to want to stick to the tracks. I'm sure there will be some shortcuts you can discover to take to give you an advantage. But when you're done racing on a track, the race isn't over. You just continue driving within this region of the world to the next track. I'm curious to see how they handle that. If there are players who, let's say you've got some slower racers that are kind of taking their time, or maybe they take a bathroom break in between racetracks. Does everyone have to wait, or will the race just continue and it's a matter of just racing laps on each track until, you know, the winners get to the end? So we'll have to see how that plays out. Knockout Tour is another one as well, where you're racing from one end of the world to the other, and there are placement prerequisites, checkpoints if you will, as you drive across, and as long as you meet the placement requirements, you can continue racing. But if you don't, then you get knocked out. So Mario Kart World showed very well. It looks great. Mario Kart World will launch the same day as the Nintendo Switch 2, which I'll announce that later in the video. But we'll also get more info on April 17th via a Nintendo Direct. So we're going to stay tuned and see what other information they can share in regards to Mario Kart World. So after the Mario Kart World showing, they jumped right into Nintendo Switch 2 features. And the first one they focused on was Game Chat. Now, Game Chat reminds me a lot of Discord. So first off, there's a microphone built into the system itself. And the microphone seems to be pretty decent in its quality. So assume that your Nintendo Switch 2 is docked by your TV and you're sitting back on your couch. It picks up your voice from that distance. The microphone also features some noise canceling, so any background noise, maybe your mom's yelling at you to stop playing video games, it might not pick up on that. The microphone can be used in dock or handheld mode, and you can share your screen while you are in game chat. So while you're playing with your friends, you can all see where you are in your game. And this is not limited to just one game as you're in game chat with your friends. Each of you could be playing different games. It seems to me that Nintendo's really seriously now leaning into the social side of gaming, which has really become popular in the last several years. The original Nintendo Switch kind of lacked in those features, and they tried to add microphone communications using this app on your phone. It didn't feel good. It seemed very cumbersome. So to have this implemented into the system itself, I think that's a win for Nintendo and the Switch too. So that said, they added a new button on the right Joy-Con controller that's labeled C. That's your game chat button, and that's how you pull up your game chat. That is where you'll find all the social settings for game chat. You can view your friends' avatars. If your friends are using the webcam provided by Nintendo, you can see your friends. The webcam has screening features as well, so you can filter out your background. It just focuses on your face. Game chat sounds great. It will require a Nintendo Online membership. Unfortunately, that kind of sucks, but if you're going to be playing online anyways, you need this membership. So that's the only way you can really be social outside of playing a local co-op, I guess. One cool thing though is they will make the feature free through or up until March 31st of 2026. So you can try it out, have fun with it, and if you like it, when that deadline comes, you can buy into your membership and continue using that service. They also support parental controls using game chat. Nintendo has always been great when it comes to protecting children in video games, especially in an online setting. The next feature Nintendo covered was what they call Game Share, and this allows a game to be shared with multiple devices locally, and you can play together locally. It's limited to 3 other systems at once, and it works with the original Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch Lite. This also supports online play with other systems, and you can use game chat. So this is also a really cool feature moving forward. There will be more games added to the list that are compatible with Game Share, so we'll have to stay tuned and see how much of our libraries we can actually share. Here's the juicy part. They did go into the hardware features of the Nintendo Switch 2 system. They didn't go into super detailed explanations. Some of the more key features that are more easily understandable by normie gamers, I'll call them. First one is we've got a bigger screen. It's 7.9 inches, whereas the original Switch is 7 inches roughly. The display is an HD display, which is kind of a downgrade from the OLED version of Nintendo Switch, but it is double the amount of pixels. They've upgraded the screen resolution to 1080p. They're also saying you can get up to 120 frames per second on this display, which is amazing for a handheld. And even though the screen is only an LCD, it does have HDR capabilities. You're not going to get the rich blacks of an OLED, but at least you'll have more vibrant colors supporting HDR. As most of us already know, the Joy-Con controllers, they connect magnetically. The magnets are strong, so you won't have any accidental disconnects. The SL and SR buttons on the inside of the Joy-Cons are bigger, which is a wonderful upgrade, because the original Joy-Cons, those inside buttons were tiny, and it made it really hard to play with those little Joy-Cons. The control sticks are also bigger, and that's wonderful news as well. As shown off in earlier trailers for the Switch 2, there's mouse control for each Joy-Con. Those are only supported by specific games. We've got improved audio, so they've upgraded the speakers built into the handheld. There's a built-in mic, which we talked about earlier in this video with noise canceling. The system supports 3D spatial sound. They didn't give much detail on this. I don't know if the speakers themselves have spatial surround sound, or if you will be required to use a headset that supports that feature. We'll have to see if Nintendo shares more on that in the future. The stand on the back of the actual device is bigger and sturdier. Thank God, because the original Nintendo Switch stand was a joke. The device also comes with 2 USB-C ports, so now you aren't limited to just charging it or using one device at a time. We've got larger, faster storage as well, 256 gigabytes, which is 8 times more than what the Nintendo Switch has, which is 32 gigabytes. So you're gonna be able to store a ton of games on your handheld device. And then there's also a new dock. The dock supports 4K, and it also has a LAN port as well. You won't need a LAN dongle to connect to the internet with a cord. The 4K is limited to 60 frames per second, and we'll have some more details on that later in the video when we talk about games utilizing this feature. We've also got HDR support for TV mode. There's a fan and a vent on the dock as well. This is going to help keep your system cool, which is super important because when you dock your Nintendo Switch 2, putting out 4K res with higher definition is going to make that machine run harder and get hotter. And another important thing is that you can play compatible Nintendo Switch games on your new Switch 2, whether it's physical or digital. That said, any Nintendo Switch 2 enhancements that a game may feature are going to require the user to purchase an upgrade pack. That's a little disappointing, in my personal opinion. We'll discuss that a little more later. So on the topic of hardware upgrades, the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to require a new type of micro SD. So this time around, you're going to need a micro SD express card if you want to expand the memory with an external card. Unfortunately, your Nintendo Switch micro SD is not going to work in the Switch 2. And then one of the most important things is they gave a launch date. You can expect the Nintendo Switch 2 to launch on June 5th of 2025. So we're a few months out, and we've also got pre-orders. Well, I won't call it a pre-order. It's more like a sign up on the official Nintendo Switch 2 website. You can sign up to show interest in wanting to buy the Nintendo Switch 2, and there are some prerequisites that are in place to prevent scalpers from buying up all the stock. So long as you meet those prerequisites, you might have a chance of buying one when the pre-orders open up. And it's also going to sell via Best Buy, and I think there might be some other retailers in the future. To be determined. We'll find out at a later date. And then from there, the show went on to showcase some of the new features of the Switch 2 being demoed off with some games. We got a showing of the mouse controls, the audio recognition using the microphone. There's more expressive rumbles in the controllers, and even some gameplay utilizing the camera. It all looked pretty cool. It looked like a lot of fun. And then they showed Nintendo Switch 2 Enhanced Edition games. And right off the bat, they showed off Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. Enhanced resolution and frame rates utilizing HDR. Metroid Prime 4 was also shown off, and it looked beautiful. Unlike the prior showings of Metroid Prime 4, it looked higher resolution. The textures were a little more detailed and clearer. You also have mouse controls using the Joy-Con. One of the highlights of this showing too was that you can now select between quality mode and performance mode. Other consoles have had these modes for a while, but it's nice to see that Nintendo is now adopting this for their new hardware. So essentially, quality mode in Metroid Prime 4 allows you to play at 4K 60 frames per second with HDR, or you can select performance mode, which allows you to play the game at 1080p 120 frames per second using HDR. And then you also get those features in handheld. So in handheld, you can play at 1080p 60 frames per second, or performance mode, which down-reses it to 720p, but allows you to hit 120 frames per second, all using HDR. I think for Nintendo gamers, this is going to be a pretty new experience for them. They're all, I think, conditioned to play games at like sub 60 frames, even 30 frames per second. So this is going to be a pretty big deal for Nintendo exclusive gamers. And like I mentioned earlier, to get access to enhanced versions of games from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2, you will have to purchase an upgrade pack. And these upgrade packs will be available for both physical and digital editions of games. And like I said, there were a bunch of games shown off. I'm gonna just blast through a couple of the bigger name titles. They showed off Elden Ring, which is expected this year, Hades 2, Street Fighter 6 is also coming to Nintendo Switch 2, Split Fiction, which is a fairly new game, EA Sports, FC, NFL, no release dates mentioned there. Hogwarts Legacy, that's also going to feature mouse control. You can expect that same day as the Switch 2 launch. For Yakuza fans, you're going to get Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, which includes new cutscenes. Borderlands 4, Sid Meier's Civ 7, which is going to support mouse controls as well. WWE 2K, NBA 2K, Cyberpunk 2077. I wonder how that's going to run on the hardware. We'll have to see. And Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which I think is going to be a huge hit on the Nintendo Switch 2. There's a sizzle reel. We actually got a partial date for Hollow Knight Silksong. It was the shortest clip, but it is expected to come out this year, 2025. And one of the biggest reveals is an exclusive FromSoft game called the Duskbloods. It is a PvP VE game similar to Elden Ring's Night Rain. It has some really heavy Bloodborne stylings to it. I was taken by surprise. It really made me think like, wow, Sony couldn't do it, so Nintendo did it. Thank you, Nintendo, for giving FromSoft money to make a game that is a spiritual Bloodborne. Though I'm not too keen on the multiplayer sort of approach that they're taking with this one. I really was hoping for something that was more single player, like the classic Soulsborne games. There's more games to talk about. Just to name off a couple more, the exclusive membership perks of having a Nintendo Online membership, you have access to classic console games. And exclusive to the Switch 2 is Gamecube. You'll be able to play Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, which is an amazing fighting game from the past, and F-Zero GX. There's going to be more games to come in the future. You'll be able to play these in multiplayer as well. They've improved the quality of these games so they will appear clearer, crisper, and run better. You'll also have custom control schemes, and of course they're going to be selling the GameCube exclusive controller for the Switch 2, for those of you that want that classic feel. And then we had sort of a concept trailer shown for Kirby Air Raiders, which is a sequel to the original game, which came out on the GameCube over 20 years ago. And then one of the big reveals regarding this title is that it's going to be directed by Masahiro Sakurai. And that's a big deal because he created the Kirby franchise as well as the Smash Brothers franchise. So this is probably going to be a solid game for the Switch 2. They also showed off a brand new Donkey Kong game called Donkey Kong Bonanza. This is a 3D platformer adventure similar to Mario Odyssey. And one of the most amazing features of the game is that the environment is completely deformable and destructible. You're able to dig through terrain and punch through walls, and it just looks like a lot of fun. The art style looks great. Donkey Kong's never looked this good. It's been a while. He deserves a good game. So this game comes out July 17th of 2025. And to wrap up the main news story here in regards to Switch 2, its launch date is June 5th of 2025. It's been a long time coming. but here we are, a few more months. I was genuinely hyped, excited. The showing was a lot of fun, but there was a red flag through all of this. Nintendo did not reveal any prices during the show, so we'll get to that a little later in the video. All right, so hang tight. We're going into the bonus round where I've got a couple more news stories to share. And don't worry, they're Nintendo related. We're keeping it on theme today. Also, if you're enjoying this video, consider supporting my channel and leaving a like and subscribing for more great gaming content. It really helps out and I appreciate it, so thank you. Okay, so as I was saying earlier, the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct did not show any pricing. Instead, we got some text saying when the show's over, our website will be updated and that's where you can get that information. Well, the pricing for the hardware comes in 2 SKUs. This is important. The hardware only is going to be priced at $449.99. That's MSRP USD. And then they have an additional SKU that includes Mario Kart World, and that's going to go for $499.99 MSRP USD. And that is a limited time production. So let's remember that, okay? That limited time production is only up through fall of 2025. So a leak came out that was provided to us by Wario64, who is a pretty trusted leaker within the gaming industry. He's nailed it several times, so he has some pretty reliable sources. One of these leaks came from Best Buy, and Switch 2 games, first party games, may be priced as high as $79.99 USD. That is a huge ask for gamers today. I want to say within the last year or so, game publishers started pricing their games at $70. There were rumors that Rockstar was going to release Grand Theft Auto 6, which is to be determined. There's no release date on that yet, but rumors have been saying they will be releasing their game for $80. Everyone's been kind of waiting who's going to do it first, and unfortunately, Nintendo is doing it first. Mario Kart World will be the first game to be priced at $80. I've got some mixed feelings about that. Additionally, Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be priced at $70, and some of their accessory pricing was leaked as well. The Joy-Cons are going to be $90, and the Pro Controller is going to be priced at $80. Doing an analysis of this on my own, I believe that the $80 price tag on Mario Kart World is done to encourage customers to buy the combo hardware pack that includes Mario World. Looking at the hardware only SKU, that's $450. The combo pack is going to be priced at $500. So essentially, Mario Kart World is raising that price by $50. Well, if you don't buy that combo pack, they want you to spend $80 on the game on its own. You know, I don't like it. I think it's kind of predatory, and to be honest, I think Nintendo's gonna get away with this. There are so many fans of Nintendo, and even like normie gamers who aren't watching my video or reading all the news around games. Nintendo's brand has a big reputation. A lot of people can trust Nintendo, or I should say they have put their trust in Nintendo, so they are willing to put that money down regardless. Though we'll see how this plays out. I was really hot on buying the Nintendo Switch 2 day one, but after these leaks and seeing these prices, I think I'm honestly going to hold off and wait. These prices are just a bit too high for my liking, and we're kind of living in precarious times if you've been paying attention to what's been going on in the world, especially in the United States. And I also suspect that Nintendo is just sort of riding the hype train. They're trusting that they will make a lot of sales day one launch and moving forward through the holidays of 2025. I suspect the price will eventually go down, and we'll probably also see an OLED model of the Switch 2. These are just my presumptions, so take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, what do you guys think? Are you still on board? Are you going to buy a Switch 2 at launch and potentially pay $80 for games? Now, these are first-party games from Nintendo, which generally have high quality to them. But yeah, are you still interested in these games if they're marked at $80? Let me know. Sound off in the comments. Okay, and for our last bit of news for today, we have some childhood dreams coming true. Or at this point, adulthood dreams. We've all been waiting for it. We've all been wanting it, but Nintendo confirmed that we are getting a Legend of Zelda movie. Nintendo recently experienced success with the release of Super Mario Bros. The movie, starring Chris Pratt back in April 5th of 2023, unlike their other Mario movie that came out back in 1993. If you haven't seen it, give it a watch. It's charming. So Nintendo announced the release date set for March 26th of 2027. The movie was first announced back in November of 2023. It's in partnership with Sony Motion Pictures Group, which is kind of interesting since Sony's a competitor in the console business, but maybe they're separating their movie business and console business, and they're willing to shake hands on that. It's to be directed by Wes Ball, who's known for The Maze Runner and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And the project is also being overseen by Shigeru Miyamoto, who is the creator of Zelda and Mario and all of those treasured Nintendo titles. He's making sure that it matches the strong vision that he's had for the series. Of course, Sony is promising this to be an ambitious film and that fans are going to be happy. March 2027 is a ways out, so I hope they truly get this one right. I actually really enjoyed the Mario Brothers movie. Just please, let's give the role of Link to somebody else other than Chris Pratt. It'll probably be one of the other Chris's, maybe Chris Hemsworth. And that's a wrap. Are you happy with the Switch 2 Direct? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more great gaming content. And if you're looking for more, check out this recommended video right here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.